Hey guys, so much interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a Samira supplementary guide, but more so than a supplementary guide for Samira in particular. This is sort of a discussion about the new item AMARANTH'S Twinguard, which is of course meant to be the new tank item, which is equivalent to a tank kind of death cap, but because it works on any champion and it's such a strong item, in a sense it gives 55 armor, 55 magic resist, and like it increases your armor and magic resist by 30% as well. So basically this gives you about 71 of armor and 71 magic resist in one item, and yes, it is incredibly expensive. It's 3200 gold. However, especially if you're an ADC or a mage who wants just one tank item, you're normally going for like a GA, you're normally going for like a Spirit Visage, that sort of deal, which does still make a lot of sense. But you know, GA gives you like 40 armor. Of course you get the revive, which is the main point, and Spirit Visage gives you like, I'm not even sure how much it gives you in it. Let me just take a quick look. Spirit Visage gives you like 50 MR, but this one gives 71 of both. So in terms of tank stats, this gives an obscene amount, 71 for both stacks. Of course, I'm assuming you fully stack the item, which is not very difficult at all. You do also get 20% tenacity, which is of course pretty amazing as well as an ADC or a mage, where you generally, of course, not generally, you never want to get CC'd, so that's great as well. The only kind of drawback is the 30% increased size. You generally don't want larger size. Tanks want it so they can help body block for their teammates and, you know, absorb skill shots, but obviously you don't want that. But in reality, all the rest of the stats sort of just balances, not balances, but sort of like offsets the increase in size, that it's kind of makes it worth it for you to get this instead. So of course there is no drawback like Steric's Gauge or like Hullbreaker, where if you're a ranged champ this gives you less stats. No, there's no such thing. I highly suspect that there will be such a thing like in the upcoming patch or something like that, because now this item is basically becoming meta on every single like champion in the game. Obviously tanks want to build it. Obviously now that it's such an OP defense item, a lot of like ADCs and mages also want to build it, so it's definitely gonna get nerfed. When you have an item that, you know, applies on every single champ, Riot never likes that, they're definitely gonna nerf it. So why did I choose to test it on Samira in particular? Well, Samira has a reputation of being amazing when tank items are good, and if she can build those tank items. Why? Because her kit revolves of course around her ult, and with that ult, if you have the lifesteal from the Bloodthirster and you have the tankiness from whatever the tank item is, she's basically gonna do insane damage, and she's gonna be impossible to kill because of both the armor as well as, not the armor, the defensive stats as well as the lifesteal. So what is our build? Well, obviously we start off with the Bloodthirster for AD crit as well as mainly that physical vamp as well as the shield. Then we go for IE to get ourselves, you know, more damage, more crit as well as increased crit damage, and then this is where we can, of course, first up we want to get our boots and our boot enchant. And another thing is, with the extra 15 armor here, you can reach about 100 armor, I believe, because you get another 15, increase it by another 30, you're almost at 100 armor when you get when you have the AMARANTH'S Twinguard passive up. So you get your enchant. Generally in Samira, QSS is a lot more common than Stasis. Stasis also viable, and defensive boot options most of the time. And then you can go into your AMARANTH'S Twinguard. So obviously this one we just spent a long while explaining. It basically is just a one size fits all tank item. And then of course we go for Lord Dominic's Regards for the crit and armor penetration, and then finally we end off with a Phantom Dancer, mostly for that lifeline shield, which of course triggers when you're low and helps you absorb more damage to help you survive longer, which in combination with Twinguard as well as Bloodthirster might be able to help you survive that fight. Of course, aside from that, it puts you up to 100% crit and gives you a little bit of attack speed, which is somewhat helpful. So now, the slight drawback of getting AMARANTH'S Twinguard is that you're kind of delaying your crit. So generally you go for 2 crit items and 2 more crit items to hit 4 items 100% crit. But by going for this, you're delaying your crit. So sometimes that kind of is not a good idea. You'll see later in the gameplay, although I say this is the build, I ended up going for this instead because I was against a very tanky team and I decided that getting that extra crit as well as the armor penetration was more important. But generally, you will generally get the Twinguard as your third or fourth item because you obviously don't get it first or second because you need to get damage first as an ADC or mage. But generally you can go for it third or fourth, and in particular non-crit based champions are the best to build this on. So champions like Vayne, like maybe you can go Borgwitz End into Twinguard or Borgwitz End Phantom Dancer into Twinguard. Like Corki, maybe you can go like Triforce, Manamune Triforce Twinguard, or like Manamune Triforce Riftmaker Twinguard, that kind of thing. So it's gonna be really good for now on, of course, ADCs and mages, so long as they don't nerf it. And then, of course, for the runes, it's pretty general stuff. We go for the Conqueror, the Sudden Impact, Ultimate Shield, as well as Nimbus Cloak. And for the spells, we go for Exhaust and Flash. Barrier is also viable if you so choose. So anyways, let's jump into the gameplay and see how the Twinguard Samira actually works. Okay, so now we're gonna jump straight into the gameplay now. Obviously, as I mentioned, on ADCs and mages, and basically any like non-tank champions, you always want to go for Twinguard as your third item at the earliest. So third, fourth, or fifth item. Like I've played other ADCs obviously, and like for example on Caitlyn, I complete my full crit build and I actually built Twinguard as my last item. Like it kind of really depends from match to match. So how you basically utilize Twinguard is basically you want to ask yourself the question is, am I having problems surviving? So there are certain matchups where you really don't have problems surviving, even if you're behind. Let's say I'm playing Caitlyn, I'm like really behind, for example, but I just don't need it because I'm not in range to get attacked by anyone. I'm behind my front line, so I don't actually need it. So I'm only gonna go for it like last item. But there's some other scenarios, like for example, I'm Samira, I'm jumping into the enemies and I'm getting focused and I'm getting bursted down. That's when I want to build Twinguard earlier, like my third item, for example. So basically, in general, it's kind of a case-by-case basis on when exactly you want to build it. But of course, just take note that if you build it earlier than your last item, you are going to delay your crit for a majority of champions. Only on a few of them, like Corki, for example, that it actually does work. That you can afford to get it earlier without sacrificing too much power. Anyways, now we're going to take a look at what's happening in the gameplay. We got a quick kill onto Leona, but unfortunately, Shyvana comes in for a gank and Morgana does die. I live on 1 HP. Tried to help her out with the exhaust, but nearly donated my life over instead, but thankfully that did not happen, so we're all good. And of course, Twinguard being our fourth item this particular match. Of course, this basically means that it's going to be a pretty normal Samira gameplay. Now, in case you guys are wondering why I'm picking Samira into this team comp, it's because this is just a normal game. This is the first game I went for Twinguard, and I decided to test out Twinguard, and obviously I don't want to test it out in a ranked match, in case it turns out to be bad and I end up trolling the match. Basically, you never want to do testing in ranked, of course, so I do go to normals to test out builds, etc., which is kind of what I'm doing here, but it turned out really well, so I decided to make a video out of it, and of course explain to you guys how Amaranth Twinguard works. So anyways, this match, you can see that aside from Ezreal, they have basically a full team of tanks. They have Leona support, Shyvana in the jungle, who is kind of a bruiser but is tanky. We have Malphite, who's building full tank, and we have Thresh, who's also building full tank. So literally 3 full tank champions, 1 bruiser and 1 Ezreal. So Vayne would have been a dream in this particular match, by the way, but of course it's normals. I can't actually see their team comp, and meanwhile it's a nightmare to play Samira in this team comp, because the issue is, of course, that Samira's ult gets stopped by any CC, and in this particular match we have like Malphite ult, we have Shyvana ult, we have Thresh Q, Thresh E, as well as Leona's whole kit basically. But thankfully, as you guys can see, we are able to get the kills. However, Thresh does come in for the gank, and here I end up dashing through Thresh into his box, which ends up basically killing myself. Kind of a bit of a mechanical misplay there. Probably should have just straight up just auto attacked him without actually dashing into his box, which definitely was a mistake. But anyways, yeah. So Samira is quite interesting. As you guys know, in the tier list, I didn't rank her all too high on the tier list. Like I believe I ranked her in like A or A plus. I don't quite remember, but Basically, here is kind of the issue with Samira. Samira is amazing with Twinguard, especially earlier on into the game, because when she goes in, she can actually survive. So she's like amazing now compared to what she was before. But the issue is, now it's also a tank meta where there are a lot of tanks in the game. Like for example, in this game, there are so many tanks that there are so many CC that it's really easy to disrupt her ult. So it's kind of like she is better, but her counters are better as well, which overall makes it such that no one is really better, which is kind of sad. So here we ult over to flash over to use the ult to kill Ezreal, and then we're gonna try to finish off Leona. Unfortunately, the minions block my ranged version of my Qs. Unfortunately, I end up just slashing the minions instead. You know, can't be helped. So instead, I'm gonna just focus on the tower and pick up 2 tower plates. Got one there, and the second one I'm gonna actually end up sharing it with Kayn because he did get back in range. Here Shyvana's on the chase for Kayn, but me and Kayn do pretty decent damage. Shyvana decides to run away. Kayn flashes because we can see Ezreal and Thresh coming. Me and Kayn are just gonna slinker off back towards our side of the map. So yeah, Samira is now incredibly strong because of Amaranth's Twinguard. However, her counters are now really strong as well, so you're not gonna have a lot of opportunity to actually pick Samira. So probably my best method of doing this is, of course, you want to pick later on in like draft pick, like when you're playing ranked. And if the enemy team has like less CC, probably Samira is going to be a good pick, because Samira into a team with not too much CC is going to be absolutely amazing with the help of the Twinguard, of course. But aside from that, picking Samira into a heavy CC team is really not ideal. Like in this match, for example, like you really don't want to be picking Samira here, because this is just not a good idea. Here, as you guys can see, the Malphite goes straight in on me. I try to survive an ult, which I do actually manage to pull off. However, Ezreal kind of snipes me out using his ulti, and therefore I just straight up die. So yeah, you can see that despite, you know, getting a lot of kills, we also are going to be dying a lot because we're going to be in the midst of a team full of CC. So generally, if we can kill a couple of people before we die, I think our job is done when it comes to this particular match, because we cannot be expecting to straight up survive, you know, all the time, just simply because, you know, the enemy team has so much CC that it's so easy to lock us down and so easy to get us killed. So sometimes you got to be a little bit more realistic. Yeah, so anyways, here we see Leona getting caught by me. Here I go in on Leona with the ulti, which also allows me to pick up the kill on to Ezreal. And again, this allows me to go for more tower plates. Now I got one full plate there, shared one plate with Kayn, got a third full plate here, and I'm going for the fourth plate, of course, clearing out the minions and waiting for my minions to actually make their way here. So here, before Morgana actually gets in range, I'm going to be able to get the fourth plate, and then with the help of Morgana, we can actually finish off the tower and also secure the first tower of the game. So I got almost the full solo tower plate goal, only shared half with Kayn. Here I'm going to immune the Thresh's hook using my W. Unfortunately though, Leona manages to lock me down instead, and I ended up dying here. So this is what I was talking about. Like here, I immuned the Thresh hook. I got black shielded by Morgana, and I immuned another CC. But Leona still has her whole kit worth of CC to use on me. So this is why I'm saying sometimes Samira is like unplayable in certain matchups, and this is kind of one of them where honestly it's almost unplayable. Like at best, I'm gonna have to like just wait for my team to bait out like all the enemy CC, which is you know, not that hard in team fights, honestly, because generally the enemy team is just gonna like, you know, pick on whoever they can, like in the front line, etc. And yeah, so we generally just need to be a bit more patient, and we should be able to make life easier for ourselves. Of course, if we are the main focus, we're just done for, basically. Now here there's sort of a mini ARAM breaking out. So here I'm just basically just attacking, etc. So here you guys can see that I have my 2 item power spike already, and here I decide to actually go for LDR first before actually going for the Twinguard, because the enemy team has 4 tanks, and without LDR I'm gonna do very little damage to them. You can see Malphite already has the completed Thornmail. Thresh already has the completed Searing Crown, as well as Leona, who has the Sunfire Aegis. Probably gonna go into some kind of armor item later. Now Malphite also has the Frozen Gauntlet, so So yeah, it's sort of getting real tanky in terms of the enemies. So here, that's why I decided to go for the LDR first, and in particular, I'm even going for Last Whisper first before going for my crit, the crit aspect of the LDR. Anyways, here nothing too much is happening, so I'm gonna just hit over here, pick up the red buff, and at the same time as picking up the red buff, I'm gonna farm the raptors as well. So here, nothing much happening. I'm just gonna quickly take this opportunity to back, complete my enchant. Of course, Quicksilver enchant in this particular match. Even with like Morgana's Black Shield in this match, there still is a whole lot of CC. So QSS is definitely gonna help us out a lot with that. Here Herald is spawning, so here I'm rotating. The whole enemy team is rotating down to get a pick on Kayn actually, instead of contesting the Herald, which is pretty strange. But here I'm seeing if we can actually help him out. He's already dead, so we're just gonna walk away. Now somehow Thresh hits this hook. I'm not sure how, but either way I try to QSS to go unstoppable, and I actually hit my ult, which actually does manage to almost like kill two people right then and there. But unfortunately for me, it does not pick up the kill there. I actually thought that I could kill like two of them, get out of the ult, and go for the third kill afterwards. But unfortunately, I get bursted down, and this is when you really start to realize that this is when you need to build the Amaranth Twinguard. Like when you're playing Samira, if you realize you're getting bursted down when you're in your ultimate, that's the indicator of it's Amaranth Twinguard time. So, anyways, here the enemy team is doing the Herald, and Brand and the Kayn are going to contest. Kayn manages to actually get the steal, and he even manages to ult the Ezreal as well as finish off the kill onto Ezreal right there, which is of course great, another pick for us. Dragon's coming up in about 30 seconds plus, and here just clearing mid wave, farming mid. Kind of misclicked the W there. You never want to really use your W unnecessarily. Here Morgana gets the engage onto Thresh. I flash forward to follow up. Excuse me. So here I get hit by the Leona ulti. I tried to predict the Malphite ulti with the QSS, but unfortunately I predicted it half a second too early. End up getting hit by the Malphite ulti, and I end up dying. So again, it definitely indicates this is Twinguard time. But of course, I'm still building halfway towards the LDR, so I'm going to complete the LDR first before I go for the Twinguard. Here Warwick tries to actually 1v1 the Malphite, but you can see that the Malphite is way too tanky at this point. Warwick does negative damage to him, and I think he's hurting himself more by attacking him because of the reflection passive on the Thornmail. So here Kayn is on the chase, long chase that is. Malphite obviously running in the opposite direction. Still on the chase, Brand trying to cut him off. Instead, auto targets the Ezreal by accident, I believe. And here we finally finish out the Malphite. I've respawned, I'm coming back, running straight down the mid lane to try to help out my team. Morgana hits the binding onto the Leona. Here I'm going in with the ulti. I use the QSS to make sure I can't get CC'd. We managed to actually finish off all 3 kills, and 4 enemies are dead at the current moment. Only Shyvana's left alive, so this is a great time to actually go for the dragon. Of course, the enemy jungler is alive, and there is a possibility of a steal, but it's highly unlikely because she's probably going to have to suicide for it because our whole team, not our whole team, but we have 3 people up, whereas she just has 1. No vision in the dragon pit, as shown by the Square's Bloom. And we're just going to easily take the dragon like so. So again, I see the red buff up. I'm trying to get all the way across the map to get my hands on that red buff. Hopefully it doesn't despawn. And thankfully I do manage to get there right on time. And at the same time I'm walking around. You can see that huge wave in bot. I want to get that huge wave if possible. So quickly just dashing in to collect the wave. And as you guys can see, we do actually get majority of the wave. Kayn comes in trying to get the minions as well. But we do end up getting majority of them, and then we're now just gonna back and pick up the LDR. I believe we should have enough gold for that by now. There we go, we get the LDR, and we can now build towards Amaranth Twinguard, and I believe we even can get a component. Yeah, we got a chain vest, more than enough gold right here. So we're about to get to that point where you guys can see what Amaranth Twinguard really does. So anyways, here a fight breaks out between the 2 teams, and here I'm coming in from the side, got my ult ready, flash forward onto the Ezreal and E through him as well. Unfortunately, he can arcane shift away. Here Shyvana tries to go in, but I'm not quite sure what she was trying to achieve there, except waste her ult. So here she actually blasts me, but I have the black shield on. Here I'm trying to actually catch up, but I end up taking a whole boatload of damage right here. And yeah, that's not what you really want to see. Again, Samira has like the shortest ADC range in the game, on par with Lucian, so really hard to get in range. Here I actually follow up using my dash, but unfortunately I dash into tower range and Malphite ults me on the tower, which causes me to just die to the tower, unfortunately. Malphite has his full stacked Force of Nature, and he's using that movement speed to run people down. Warwick is the next victim, and here he comes for Morgana and Bran. Flashes forward to try to kill the Morgana, but unfortunately that does not happen. His Force of Nature is enough to keep him alive from the Morgana W though. And Kayn trying to see what he can get done in this situation. Doesn't look like very much though. Bran has been trying to back for like the past 30 plus seconds, but he's been getting interrupted consistently. By the way guys, just want to point out Bran's itemization here. He has a pretty unique itemization, which I actually think is pretty good in this particular match. You guys can see he has Riftmaker that deals true damage, he has Syrian Crown which does % health damage, and he has Liandry's which does % health damage as well. This is actually pretty amazing itemization against a team of 4 tanks. I just wanted to point it out for you guys about how this Bran has adapted his item build really well. So anyways, here pretty much the fight is over by the time I arrive, and I'm just gonna farm the minions. I say it's over, but in reality the enemy team is killing Kayn, but I can't really do anything about that. I can't like just jump in and save him or anything like that. So here just gonna farm up the chickens, and since Warwick apparently is not interested in the red buff, he's gone to the other side of the map. I was expecting him to come over to help me take the red buff so we can buff share, but since he did not do so, I'm instead just gonna take the red buff for myself. So here I'm just going to farm the Krugs as well, just picking up farm wherever I can, almost getting Amaranth Twinguard already. I'm just getting that last bit of gold. We have both components already, and we're going to try to get enough gold for the Twinguard. It's a recall. I believe we're just a few gold away, just waiting a little bit to get the Twinguard. Alright, there we go. Couple of seconds, we get the Twinguard. So now we can see what Twinguard can actually get us. So here looks like a fight is about to break out already, and here again I'm walking to the fight. You know, because I'm not at the fight at the start, a lot of CC has been used up. So here I get to A rank, S rank, and here I'm gonna flash over, get the kill on Ezreal. Look at the Twinguard, by the way, giving me that tankiness. Look at that HP, by the way. Without the Twinguard I would not have survived that. And here I'm gonna ult again for the triple kill onto the Shyvana. So that is what Twinguard does. Instantly you guys can see what Twinguard gets you. If I didn't have the Twinguard there, I would have just died instantly. Look at how I lived on 1 HP with the Twinguard. Of course its passive was active and fully stacked. Now here the idea was to actually get the Baron because the whole enemy team is dead, whereas we have 4 people up. But Kayn can't really tank the Baron all that long, and Bran and Morgana are not with us to DPS the Baron or to help tank. So instead it kind of becomes a failed operation where we pretty much just waste time, and instead I'm just gonna steal the enemy Grom and call it a day. Just gonna go back to base, and yeah, just get a Zeal to build towards my Phantom Dancer. So here the last dragon is spawning, and we already have 2, so triple drag of course is a amazing win condition, so we do want to try to get ourselves that triple drag. Infernal Drake is up now, and of course the enemy team has also come to contest. So here it's just basically praying that Warwick can smite properly, because there's not too much we can do in this situation. We can't really zone the enemy team of tanks away. Thankfully Warwick does get the smite. Here I'm at C rank, I'm kind of just waiting, and here I see a lot of CC being used. I'm going in. Unfortunately Malphite out was not used here anyway. I'm pretty much at full health with the help of my lifesteal on Bloodthirst as well as the Twinguard. Here you can see Malphite doesn't even do damage to me at this point, because he's of course building full tank, and with the Twinguard combined with the Bloodthirster shield, he basically doesn't even do damage. So here we can conduct a very easy dive onto Ezreal. Ezreal does hit the stasis, but it doesn't really matter. We're just going to get him after he comes out of stasis. Kind of a waste of the stasis right there. enemy red buff is up, so we're gonna try to take the enemy red buff. Unfortunately, the Morgana burn damage on the W does way too much damage, so she ends up getting the red buff instead. Not a big deal because our red buff is still up, so instead we're just gonna steal the raptors and clear out the minion wave on the way to getting towards our own red buff. So here we of course secure the red buff. We're gonna back, probably can get the Phantom Dancer, no other reason to back other than that. And yep, Phantom Dancer completed. So now we're at full build. We're at 16, 6, and 10 at 18k gold, by far the most gold in the game by a country mile. And anyways, here I'm actually pinging for Baron because honestly my team is so ahead at this point. We can just pretty much just force Baron without much consequence. If the enemy team comes, we can just turn on them and just kill them. You know, there's not much they can really do to us, of course, unless we get picked or, you know, do something stupid. Here Shyvana tries to flash in. Here you can see how much damage I'm tanking because of the Amaranth Twinguard. Here I use the QSS to go unstoppable. Here I get back up to S rank, dash back in and activate the ulti again, and we just pretty much just finish all of them off 4v5, and I pick up a quadra kill. Unfortunately there is no penta. Here my team is finally off doing the Baron, but honestly at this point we don't even need the Baron. Enemy team surrenders. We could have just ended there even without the Baron, but anyways, yeah, we do end up picking up the victory. So I'll leave you guys with the stats as usual. Hopefully you guys saw the power of the Amaranth Twinguard. So anyways, thank you guys for watching the video, and goodbye.